My thesis is about my interest in a field where linguistic mediation meets music. The starting point of my research is the concept of linguistic and cultural mediation. Mediation means making communication possible between people who belong to different linguistic and cultural systems. Every language carries cultural linguistic features that do not always have a direct equivalent in another language. For this reason, the translator must interpret the original message and reconstruct it so that it is both understandable and natural for a new audience. This issue becomes particularly evident in translation when a text contains cultural or linguistic elements that are closely connected to a specific community. This is where one of my main themes begins, understanding how the identity of an audiovisual product can be preserved while making it accessible to a different audience. This concept is reflected in two strategies used to bridge cultural differences: foreignization and domestication. The first one preserves elements of the source culture while ensuring that the audience can still understand them. The other one minimizes cultural differences to make the text sound more natural or simply because explaining them will be impossible due to the constraints of the scene, such as limited timing. Since dubbing is based on an already existing audiovisual product, the adapter chooses the strategy that best suits each specific case. I decided to focus mainly on dubbing, which plays a particularly important role in Italy. Dubbing requires a deep reworking of the original work because your voice contributes to the identity of each character. For this reason, the new voice must fit the character perfectly. Singing dubbing is the process of replacing the original song with a new musical interpretation in another language. In singing dubbing, the constraints are even greater because, in addition to usual limitation, the adapter must also consider rhythm, and musicality. This led me to the main focus of my thesis: singing dubbing in Disney animated films. I chose Disney because its productions have a central place in our collective imagination and because music often plays a fundamental narrative role. My aim was to show that singing dubbing is a highly complex form of mediation because it must satisfy several requirements at the same time while remaining singable. In the third chapter, I applied this concept through a comparative analysis of three Disney songs: Let It Go from Frozen, We Don't Talk About Bruno from Encanto, and Circle of Life from The Lion King. I chose these songs because each of them represents a different type of adaptation challenge. Regarding Frozen, I analyzed the transition from Let It Go to the Italian version All'alba sorgerò. The Italian adaptation does not translate the English expression literally. Instead, it introduces a different image connected with dawn, rebirth, and self affirmation. It is therefore a free but effective adaptation because it conveys the deeper meaning of the scene. Elsa is letting go of her fears while creating a new identity. In the case of Encanto, the main challenge is the choral structure. We Don't Talk About Bruno is built around multiple voices and different point of view. Bruno is the central figure of the song, yet it never sings directly. Instead, he is described by the other members of the family. Here, the adaptation must preserve the variety of voices and the sense of family taboo. Finally, with The Lion King, I analyzed the opening song of the film. Here, the adaptation must preserve the solemn tone of the song, its symbolic function, and the idea of the natural cycle of life. The presence of untranslated linguistic elements shows that in some cases preserving otherness can be more effective than translating everything because it reinforces both the cultural identity and the musical impact of the sequence. In conclusion, my thesis aimed to demonstrate that Disney singing dubbing is a complex form of linguistic, cultural, and music mediation. A successful dubbed version allows a song to live naturally in another language and another culture. When the adaptation is effective, the audience does not notice the complexity of the process. For this reason, studying singing dubbing means observing the meeting point between languages, cultures, music, and performance. Studying different languages and cultures made me curious to understand how something familiar to me, such as animated films, could work in a different cultural context. Realizing that such a complex and delicate process lies behind every audiovisual product, it's what inspired me.